Parents, what horrifying thing did you discover about your kids? I always thought my 15-year-old daughter Hazel was just going through a quiet phase. She used to be this bubbly, outgoing kid who'd talk my ear off about everything. But over the past year, she'd grown distant, spending most of her time in her room with the door locked. I blamed it on typical teenage stuff until I found blood-soaked tissues hidden in her bathroom trash. My heart stopped. Was she hurting herself? I confronted her that evening, but she just burst into tears and ran to her room. The next morning, while she was at school, I did something I'd never done before. I searched her room. Under her mattress, I found a diary. The first entry made me sink to my knees. I did it again last night. Trent said if I didn't, he'd tell everyone at school about last time. My arms are covered in bruises from where he grabbed me. I'm only 15, but he's 17 and so much stronger. I'm scared to say no. Trent was my stepson. He'd moved in with us 6 months ago when I married his father, Richard. The diary entries went back months, detailing how Trent had been forcing himself on her, threatening to hurt her little brother if she told anyone. I read entry after entry, my hands shaking. She wrote about trying to tell Richard, but Trent had convinced his dad that Hazel was just jealous of their relationship and making up lies. Richard had brushed her off completely. The most recent entry was from 2 days ago. Mom's been asking why I'm so quiet lately. I want to tell her everything, but Trent said he'd hurt Tommy if I did. Last night he snuck into my room again. I pretended to be asleep, but he wouldn't leave. I'm so tired of being scared. I called the school immediately and picked up both kids. When we got home, I held Hazel while she finally broke down and told me everything. How it started with small threats, then escalated. How Trent would corner her when nobody was home. How he'd hurt her if she resisted. I took photos of her bruises and recorded her story. Then I packed up everything we owned while the kids were eating lunch. I called my sister, who lived 3 hours away, and she said we could stay with her. We were almost finished loading the car when Richard's truck pulled into the driveway. Trent was with him. Richard started yelling, demanding to know what was going on. I handed him Hazel's diary. "Read it," I said. "Read what your son has been doing to my daughter." Richard flipped through the pages, his face getting red, but not from anger at Trent. He turned to Hazel and screamed that she was a liar, that she was trying to ruin his family. Trent stood behind his dad, smirking at Hazel. She started trembling. That's when Tommy, my 8-year-old, spoke up. "I saw him, Dad," he said quietly. "I saw Trent going into Hazel's room at night. I was scared to tell." Richard grabbed Trent's arm, demanding the truth. Trent's smirk disappeared. He started stammering excuses, but Richard finally saw through his lies. What happened next was chaos. Richard attacked Trent, throwing him against the garage door. I grabbed the kids and we ran to the car. As we pulled away, I could see Richard still pounding on Trent, neighbors running outside to see what was happening. We drove straight to the police station. Hazel was so brave, telling her story to the officers. They arrested Trent that same day. The evidence was overwhelming. Her diary, the photos of her bruises, text messages he'd sent threatening her. Trent ended up getting 8 years in prison. Richard tried to apologize, begging me to come back, swearing he'd never doubt Hazel again. But it was too late. The divorce was finalized 3 months later. We moved in with my sister permanently. Hazel started therapy, and slowly, that bubbly girl I remembered started coming back.